Imagine a land of mist-shrouded mountains and violent volcanic birth, separated from the Asian mainland by a treacherous blue sea. For millennia, the islands of Japan developed in profound isolation, cultivating a culture unlike any other on Earth. Its story is not just a chronology of emperors and battles, but a saga of spiritual discovery, of breathtaking artistic achievement, and a social evolution that would give rise to the most iconic warrior class in history, the samurai. This is an in-depth journey through the entire history of ancient Japan, from its very first inhabitants to the dawn of the age of the Shogun. Our story doesn't begin with emperors or cities, but with the Jomon people. Arriving as early as 14,000 BCE, they weren't just simple hunter-gatherers. They were the world's first sedentary hunter-gatherers, settling in villages thanks to the incredible abundance of the land and sea. Their name, Jomon, meaning cord-marked, comes from their most stunning legacy: incredibly sophisticated pottery, often made without a wheel. These pots weren't just utilitarian, they were artistic and likely spiritual. The same can be said for their mysterious dog figurines, with their large hypnotic eyes. Were they goddesses, talismans for healing? We may never fully know, but they speak to a deep and complex worldview. For over 10,000 years, the Jomon way of life persisted, a testament to a successful adaptation to a rich environment. Then, around 300 BCE, Japan's isolation ended. A new wave of migrants, now known as the Yayoi people, crossed over from the Korean peninsula, and they brought a revolution: the knowledge of wet rice agriculture. This single technology changed everything. Suddenly, food could be produced in surplus, stored in elevated granaries, and its cultivation required cooperation and social organization. Villages grew larger and began to compete for the best land. We see evidence of palisades and moats for the first time. With competition came social stratification. A class of powerful warrior chiefs emerged, buried with their prized bronze weapons and ornate jewelry. But it wasn't all war. They also cast enormous bronze bells, or dotaku, decorated with beautiful scenes of nature and daily life. These were not instruments of war, but of ritual, likely used in community prayers for a good harvest. This period of transformation laid the crucial groundwork for the first Japanese states. The competition between Yayoi chieftains culminated in the rise of a dominant power, the Yamato clan. Their era is defined by the Kofun, or Old Tomb period. To project their unmatched authority, these rulers constructed colossal, keyhole-shaped burial mounds that dominated the landscape. The largest, attributed to Emperor Nintoku, is over 400 meters long. It remains one of the largest tombs on Earth. Surrounding these mounds were thousands of haniwa, unglazed clay figures. They weren't just art, they were a substitute for human sacrifices and a snapshot of Yamato society: armored warriors, shamanistic priests, musicians. The Yamato kings were not just military leaders. They were master politicians and shamans. They consolidated power by weaving together the clan-based deities of their rivals into a unified mythology, placing their own patron deity, the sun goddess Amaterasu, at its head. This created the divine justification for their rule, a narrative that remains central to the imperial institution today. The next great transformation came, not on the point of a sword, but through philosophy and religion. In 538, a Korean kingdom sent the Yamato court a gift that would change Japan forever, a statue of the Buddha and Buddhist sutras. This triggered a violent culture war. Conservative clans saw Buddhism as a threat to the native kami. The progressive Soga clan embraced it as a key to accessing advanced Chinese civilization. The Soga won. Under their patronage and the visionary leadership of Prince Shotoku, Japan wholeheartedly embraced the Chinese model. Shotoku is credited with writing the 17-article Constitution, a document emphasizing harmony, Buddhism, and the absolute authority of the emperor. The result was the first permanent capital city, Nara. Here, the emperor ruled as a Chinese-style son of heaven. The power of Buddhism was cemented with the construction of the colossal Todai-ji temple and its giant Buddha statue, a project so expensive it nearly bankrupted the state. In 794, the court moved again to Heijo-kyo, the capital of peace and tranquility, modern-day Kyoto. For the next 4 centuries, this city was the heart of a breathtaking cultural golden age. The imperial court became a world of exquisite refinement, complex rituals, and poetic elegance. But this golden age had a dark underbelly. The emperor's power was slowly co-opted by the Fujiwara clan. Through a brilliant, simple strategy, they married their daughters to emperors. When a son was born, the Fujiwara grandfather would serve as regent, controlling the state from behind the throne. Meanwhile, far from the capital, the system was breaking down. The government's national systems failed. Provincial lords began to hire their own private armies to protect their land. These were the first samurai. By the mid-10th century, these warriors were so powerful, they were called to the capital to put down rebellions. 2 great regional samurai clans, the Minamoto and the Taira, began their rise to prominence, setting the stage for a final devastating conflict. The rivalry between the Taira and Minamoto exploded into the Genpei War, a nationwide civil war from 1180 to 1185. After initial dominance by the Taira, the Minamoto clan, led by the ruthless and strategic Minamoto no Yoritomo, fought back. The war culminated in the great naval battle of Dan no Ura. The Minamoto forces, using the tidal currents to their advantage, utterly destroyed the Taira fleet. It is said the child emperor Antoku, grandson of Taira, leader Kiyomori, perished in the waves, a loss that echoes in Japanese history. Yoritomo was victorious, but instead of overthrowing the emperor, he did something far more revolutionary. In 1192, he compelled the emperor to grant him the title, Sei-i Taishogun, barbarian subduing great general. He established a separate military government in the small coastal town of Kamakura, far from the imperial court. The age of the court was over. The age of the samurai had officially begun. From the spiritual clay of the Jomon to the divine myths of the Kojiki, from the borrowed grandeur of Nara to the exquisite native beauty of Heian, and finally to the rise of the warrior, ancient Japan crafted a unique identity. It was a process of selective borrowing, adaptation, and ultimate transformation, creating a culture that was, and is, entirely its own. The foundations laid in these ancient centuries would define Japan for a millennium to come. I hope you enjoyed this journey through the centuries with me. If you liked the way we explored the history of ancient Japan, if you learned something new, please let me know by leaving a like. It really helps the channel. And consider subscribing so you won't miss our next adventure into the past. Thank you for watching.